What's going on, everybody? Dogman Dan here. We are in Warframe and we are going to talk about the SYBARIS in this build video. Okay, so SYBARIS, it's a bolt action double shot rifle, if you will. Very unique in weapons, in my opinion. You could call it a few different weapons combined, you know, Latron, Gridlock, put together type of thing. It's very unique. I've got a build here. We're gonna go through. This is my Excalibur. We're on a tier 3 capture. I've got Shade as a passive. Ooh, look at that, almost 19,000 crit on him. Shade as a passive. So it's just me and the weapon here. When I first got this thing, I knew I was gonna like it. When I finished building it in the first round without any Forma, I still had 4 mod slots left. So I quickly started hitting the Forma button just to let you know this does have 4 Forma on it. I finished putting the build together. I'm actually very happy with it at 4 Forma right now that I've done some minor changes to it. So let's go through this and see. It's a very mixed build. I've got it very, I don't know how I put it, featured in a few different categories to make it pretty awesome. So overall, it's a very effective weapon. So as we talk about this, let's go into the main stats here. We got an impact of 23.1, puncture is 23.1, slash is 23.8. So it's fairly even across the board in basic damage. Accuracy is 28.6, same as what the Boltor Prime is. Fire rate is 3.3. Criticals 2 times 25%. We know it's going to be a good crit weapon. Decent crit weapon. Status is 10%. Magazine's 10. Reload was 2, and it's a burst trigger. So, here's what I've gone ahead and I've done with this thing. I've got impact and puncture at 168.7. I've got slash at 173.8. I've added corrosive in here as my elemental for this one. 613.3. I was actually not going to put corrosive in, but I ended up putting corrosive in. Accuracy's down to 17.7, which is the same as what my Boltor Prime is, but it's still perfect. Fire rate's still 3.3. My critical is up 5.6 times, 62.5% damage. My status chance is at 43.6 now. Magazine's the same. Reload's still the same. Still burst. And conclave number is a nice 337 if anyone is interested. Okay. So overall, the weapon has a lot of nice features to it. It's got a good set of base damage. You can put a nice amount of critical into it. You can put a decent amount of status chance into it. And it's got a nice long range, even as it's built. So let's go through. I'm going to start out here. I start out with a Serration mod, max Serration mod, an extra 165% base damage. Right next to it, I added a multi-shot. So 90% multi-shot in here. The split chamber, it's maxed out. As you just saw there, he actually died based off of my status proccing, because I procced him, and we'll talk about that in a bit. So I added a 90% multi-shot, so pretty much every shot is going to, instead of being 2 in the burst, it's going to actually end up being 4 if you technically look at it, since it bursts 2 out every time normally. I've actually added a heavy caliber in here, same as I did with my Boltor Prime when I did the Boltor Prime. So 120% damage with a negative 40% accuracy. It's not fully maxed out. I've never felt the need to fully max it out. I've always felt this is like the perfect medium right here. You still keep your accuracy. You get a whole bunch of extra base damage. I mean, you're talking 285% extra base damage plus the 90% multi-shot at this point. So that's going to put in our base regular damage to the gun, making the impact, puncture, and slash damage as high as it is. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add in a point strike. We're going to max out the point strike, adding an additional 150% critical chance, bringing that critical chance up to a nice 62.5%. So we do crit a lot. It's almost a crit every shot pretty much, since it's a double shot. Technically it's a 4-shot with the multi-shot on here, the split chamber. So you're going to always crit. And in order to get your crit level as high as you can in terms of base damage, we're going to add in a Vital Sense. Vital Sense is going to give us 120% critical damage. And if you have it, add a Hammer Shot mod as well. Hammer Shot is going to give us another 60% critical damage. So a 180% total critical increase in our base damage and a 40% status chance. So that's where we're going to start bringing up our status chance to this weapon. And this is important because the status chance, well, it's not 100%. The status chance is a 43, 44%. That's going to give us a chance on the basic stuff to, with impact, stagger the enemy. With puncture, we're going to damage dealing. They're going to have weakened damage dealing. With the slash, the good slash damage that we have, we're going to actually proc with the bleed out damage over time. And since I'm using a corrosive, we're going to reduce the armor of all the enemies that we are shooting. So we've got 4 decent procs on the weapon with a decent set of status in here. So in terms of elementals, how I did it is I actually used the Malignant Force mod, which is a poison damage and status chance. And I used the High Voltage, which is a electrical damage and status chance. So that's going to bring up my status chance to the 44% basically. So I've got a decent stat, as I was saying, which gives me, you know, stagger, weakened damage, bleed out, and reduced armor against the enemies when I do proc. And I'm going to proc a lot with the weapon, being that it's almost 50%, and the weapon does a double shot every time, so it's going to have a decent amount in there. We've got a really nice critical, so that's going to help enhance our critical setup. And then, of course, we got a really nice base damage as well. So that's how I've got this weapon set up. It works out really well for me. If you don't have the extra stat mods, you could put in electrical, and you could put in your straight toxin or poison damage, and that'll give you corrosive, and that'll help you out. And that should be more than enough, fine enough for the weapon if you don't have all the extra procking or status on there. But if you got a chance to get it, we'll just go ahead and shoot these last couple of eyes. Go ahead and get that. I'm going to throw the last part of the build up here, the actual build as I have it. Hopefully you enjoy this. Do try it out. Let me know what you think about it. Any questions, feel free to leave them below. This build may or may not work out for you. Maybe something you like, maybe something you don't like. I'm just curious what you think, so hopefully you enjoyed it. Do hit that like button if you did. Comments, like I said. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. And I'll catch you guys in the next episode. See you later.